We tell ourselves stories to feel safe. Stories about how we are good people, how we would never be capable of true evil. We believe that monsters have a certain look, cold eyes, cruel smiles, an aura of darkness. We believe that only a specific kind of person can betray, deceive, oppress, or kill. But what if I told you that the greatest evils in history were not carried out by those who looked different from you? Not by the inherently wicked, nor by the psychopathic outliers of society. But by ordinary people, people who loved, who laughed, who paid their bills and held their children at night. How does a father, who once rocked his child to sleep, go on to execute another man's son in cold blood? How does a woman, who once cared for her aging mother, stand by as her neighbors are dragged away in the dead of night? The answer is not that they were born evil. The answer is far more terrifying. They simply became evil, one step at a time. Evil is rarely born in an instant. It does not strike like a bolt of lightning, turning a man into a villain overnight. No, it seeps in like water through cracks in stone, slowly eroding what was once solid. The first step is always small, almost insignificant. A lie to protect oneself. A compromise made for convenience. A rationalization, I am just following orders, it is not my responsibility, this is how the system works. The first betrayal is always internal. A quiet whisper in the mind, this is wrong, quickly silenced by another voice, softer but more insidious, but what else can I do? And so, the man tells himself that his actions are necessary, that they are harmless, that they are justified. Over time, he no longer feels the weight of what he has done. He does not recognize himself in the mirror, but he no longer stops to look. There is another, more seductive path to darkness, one that does not come from weakness, but from the hunger to feel powerful. Many who fall into evil do not do so reluctantly, they embrace it. Not because they love cruelty, but because they crave meaning. Nothing is more terrifying to a man than to feel invisible, powerless, insignificant. A life without meaning is a void, and nature abhors a vacuum. If no purpose presents itself, he will manufacture one. And often, that purpose is built on destruction. Throughout history, entire populations have found their meaning not in creation, but in destruction, by defining themselves against an other. The Crusades. The Inquisitions. The purges of the 20th century. The terror attacks of the modern era. What is the common thread? Not greed. Not insanity. But belonging. A belief that their suffering, their lack of purpose, could be alleviated by placing the blame elsewhere, on a race, a religion, a class, a nation. They do not see themselves as villains. They see themselves as warriors of righteousness, the chosen ones fighting against corruption and decay. A terrifying truth of human nature is that morality is often a matter of proximity. Alone, a man may hesitate to do harm. But in a crowd, responsibility dissolves. What he would never do in solitude, he will do when surrounded by others. This is how peaceful protests turn into violent mobs. How soldiers who were once hesitant become war criminals. How societies sleepwalk into totalitarianism. Psychologists call this de-individuation, when personal responsibility fades into collective will. The self is no longer accountable. The guilt is no longer personal. We did it, they say, and in that, we, the I, is lost. And so, the unthinkable becomes possible. Even the worst crimes require self-justification. The mind, when faced with the weight of its own actions, will construct illusions to protect itself. There are three primary ways in which this happens. 1. Dehumanization. To kill another person is difficult. To kill an infestation is easy. 2. Rationalization. The mind whispers, if I did not do it, someone else would. It was not my choice. I had no control. 3. Moral compensation. I do good in other ways, he tells himself. I am not as bad as they say. Evil is not an external force. It is not reserved for others, for the broken, the monstrous, the insane. It is inside you. Inside me. Inside all of us. The only way to resist it is to acknowledge it. To see it clearly, in its first subtle forms. To recognize the small compromises. To stand against the crowd. To never surrender the ability to question, to choose, to remain human. Because the moment you believe you are incapable of evil, is the moment you are most at risk of becoming it. If this video made you think, share it. Because understanding evil is the only way to resist it. Thank you for watching.